Thousands believed Tupac did it. Millions believed Elvis did it. But did Michael Jackson really do it? E-movie book, Suicide, Did Michael Jackson Fake His Death to Save His Life? By author Pearl Jr. It's the most shocking true story of our lifetime. Order yours today. Go to michaeljacksonsuicide.com. That's michaeljacksonsuicide.com. Elbow Grease Productions, in association with michaeljacksoninsider.com, presents Welcome to michaeljacksoninsider.com, and I'm Pearl Jr., and I'll be continuing my commentary of the preliminary hearing of Dr. Conrad Murray, where he is accused of involuntary manslaughter in the death of Michael Jackson. This is a hearing to determine if he will stand trial, and only one person, the judge, will make that decision. But we're all here to hear the testimony and get as much information as we possibly can. This is for the testimonies on January 10th, 2011 and 1/11/11, which is January 11th, 2011. There was an expert that came on. He was an iPhone expert, and he talked about a message that was sent from the UK, from where Michael was supposed to be doing his This Is It concerts at the O2 Arena. And it was at 5:57 Los Angeles time, and that's AM, to Dr. Murray about cancellation insurance. I mean, how odd is that? The night that Michael cannot sleep, there's an email before 6 a.m. talking about, the purchase of cancellation insurance. And I wasn't quite sure everything that was said in that. It was a UK insurance company. I think their name was Artis Insurance Company. He wants to reiterate that Michael Jackson is healthy and that he's strong and that the reports about his ill health are not true. How ironic is that? Then the messages back and forth were also forwarded to AEG. What we're going to make out of that, I don't know. I think that's very weird because apparently through the night of the 24th through the 25th, Dr. Murray was refusing to give Michael Jackson propofol, in which testimony states that he had been giving it to him almost every night for the past 2 months. Or, as Nicole Alvarez, Dr. Murray's baby mama, stated, he was with her 2 weeks out of the month, which is not straight 2 weeks, but 2 or 3 days here, 2 or 3 days there. So 6 days versus 14 days he was giving Michael propofol. But this particular night, Dr. Murray decided he was going to continue to try to wean Michael Jackson off of propofol because he thought Michael Jackson had developed a dependency on propofol in order to sleep. So the night before, he used all these lorazepams and all these pans type of medicines, and midazolam, and Michael Jackson was able to sleep. The next night it didn't work so well and Michael Jackson wasn't able to sleep, and Michael was telling him, I need my milk, because Michael apparently called propofol his milk. And Dr. Murray was refusing, and Michael was saying, well, I'm going to have to cancel my shows because I have to get some sleep. I'm going to have to cancel rehearsal. I'm going to have to cancel the concerts if I cannot get sleep. And then the cancellation insurance email came through, so I find that extremely ironic. Also, there was somebody by the name of Tim Lopez, who's a pharmacist who owns Applied Pharmacy in Las Vegas. And he talked about how he met Dr. Murray and how Dr. Murray first made a phone call to him asking about Benequin and hydroquinone, which is for Michael Jackson's vitiligo. It's the cream. So he had to make special potions. Then Dr. Murray showed up and they met each other in person. Then all of a sudden, Dr. Murray starts ordering all these medicines. And the one that seemed to give Michael Jackson the biggest problem was propofol. And during this 2 months, Applied Pharmacy went ahead and shipped over 255 bottles of propofol to Nicole Alvarez's house, in which no hospital was involved. So I find that a little bit suspicious that they went to a house, even though a doctor can prescribe whatever they want with their patients, and so far it's legal that he can send it there, but no hospital was involved in the receipt of any of this propofol. Now, something interesting happened. Tim Lopez did mention, the word pet. and he also mentioned the word veterinarian. And I thought that those were weird words for a pharmacist to use. And I remember way back in the early times that Michael died, maybe months after, people were saying that propofol was some kind of used for pets or something like that. And I don't know what that means, because I did do a search of applied pharmacy and I didn't see anything that really led to that he was making medicine for pets. But I just thought, for you researchers out there, something for you guys to kind of, look up. Also, up until the year 2005, there was no way to detect propofol in somebody's system. One woman testified that she was a part of research to find a way to detect propofol in people's system, and it took from 2005 to 2008. So now they can detect propofol in people's systems. Now, they did talk about the differing ratios. The defense finally decided to step up, and even though they didn't put on their own witnesses in their own case, but they did decide to do more vigorous cross-examination. And one of the things that they pinpointed were the different ratios and the different tissues that were tested. Michael liked to use, apparently, propofol and anti-burn, which is the lidocaine. And the lidocaine was used because when the injection went in, it burned. So lidocaine was Michael called it anti-burn, according to Dr. Murray. And that apparently made a difference. But they were talking about the different amounts that were found in the liver, in the blood, in the blood at the hospital, and how it's that different. And they said that it was called post-mortem distribution, which means the body reacts to different substances in the blood or in the body or in the tissues when the body stops working, and that made up for it. But there was some big difference that the defense decided to kind of narrow in on, and that was the fact that there was more lidocaine in the stomach than propofol. So no one could really explain that there's more propofol in every other organ and less lidocaine, but in the stomach, not only was there propofol and lidocaine in the stomach, found in the stomach, but there was more lidocaine. So a lot of people, when the defense said that Michael Jackson possibly drank the propofol, what they're saying is that the reason why his esophagus didn't burn was because he took a lot of lidocaine to make sure that when the propofol went down, it did not burn. So that was one of the defense strategies that they had. The beet juice. Michael apparently liked beet juice, according to Kai Chase, the chef. Now, I've taken beet juice because I heard her saying she wanted to feed Michael and his children healthy and beet juice. So I went down to my local health food store and I bought some beet juice. And the beet juice makes your urine and everything else that comes out red, which can be a scary thing. And so when they found a jug of urine in Michael Jackson's house, in the room that he was using as a hospital room, they did not mention the discoloration of any urine. So I don't know if that means something or doesn't mean something, but from personal experience, I know beet juice is very red, very strong, and it does change the color of your urine. It makes it more reddish. And there was no testing of the needle that was found. And the needle and the barrel of the needle were detached, but they were in the same bag. And no one decided to test the needle for propofol, for lidocaine, for fingerprints, for anything. And I found that to be rather strange. Also, the IV bag was not tested. The saline had no drugs in it whatsoever. The juice container where Michael drank the juice and had been drinking juice for a while, beet juice for a while, also was not tested. So they don't know if Michael poured the lidocaine and the propofol in the beet juice and drank it, because the beet juice is really strong. On June 27, 2 days after Michael Jackson disappeared, died, went away, passed, Dr. Murray gave his statement to the police, and he gave them pretty much a chronology of everything that went on. And what was the most distinguishable thing that leaves a question mark is the fact that Dr. Murray said he gave Michael the propofol at 10:40 a.m. or 10:50, between 10:40 and 10:50 a.m. And Dr. Murray made a series of phone calls. And I don't know if Dr. Murray left the room to make the phone calls. If Michael couldn't sleep and he thought Michael was sleeping, then you would think that he had left the room, but he did not admit that he left the room. Dr. Murray says he only gave Michael 25 milliliters, I can't determine which one is which, and we'll talk more about milliliters and milligrams in a minute. And it wasn't enough to keep Michael to sleep no longer than 5 or 10 minutes. So he should have woken up within 5 or 10 minutes. But if Dr. Murray left the room, which is just the worst thing a doctor can do if a patient's under anesthetics, and have him unmonitored. If he left the room, then he wouldn't know what time Michael Jackson really stopped breathing, because according to Sade Anding, who was on the phone with Dr. Murray from 11:51 to 12:02, she heard the phone in a pocket, and she heard coughing, and she heard voices, which means more than one voice. If Dr. Murray found that Michael Jackson was not breathing, how did she hear voices? And who was coughing? Who was coughing? And Dr. Murray is Caribbean, so he has a Caribbean accent, but nobody asked her if they heard her say, "Michael, wake up, Michael, Mr. Jackson, wake up," or screaming or anything. She just said that she heard voices, commotion, and she heard coughing. I wish that was kind of, that was expanded on. But we don't know if there was another dose taken or not, or if Dr. Murray is not telling the truth about 25 milliliters of propofol. We have no idea. So that's still a question mark. Now, there was a mistake made by Dr. Ruffalo. He got confused when he read the amounts of propofol versus the amounts of lidocaine in what they said was Michael Jackson's stomach. He got mixed up with milligrams and milliliters. A milligram is smaller than a milliliter, so he didn't understand that the ratios in Michael Jackson's stomach said that there was more lidocaine than there was propofol. And the lidocaine, remember, Michael called it the anti-burn, according to Dr. Murray. So that was a mistake, but Dr. Ruffalo, his ruffles were not feathered, and he moved on and said, despite that mistake that he made, and he apologized for it, he said that it would still be the fault of Dr. Murray that Michael Jackson died because of the extreme departure of standard of care that Dr. Murray gave to Michael Jackson.